What's up, guys? Welcome. I'm Chris Slater, retired F-16 pilot turned UAP investigating YouTuber. Last week's video I was pretty fired up. I was disappointed really in the state of disclosure, especially in the United States. But man, has it changed this week. There's been two just blockbuster releases this past week. The first is from John Ramirez. He is a retired GS-15. That's pretty high. That's basically a lieutenant colonel in the CIA. So he was an officer and he retired in 2009. He made this presentation, amazing presentation. I'm just gonna go through my initial thoughts on it, okay? It's so much to unpack. The second kind of blockbuster presentation was in the National Cathedral. Just some amazing presentations by Avril Haines. She's the new DNI director of the DNI. Bill Nelson made some amazing comments, as well as Jeff Bezos, Avril. It's just an amazing presentation. This video, I'll just be giving my initial thoughts on both of these presentations. There's so much to unpack in there, so I'll just hit really the highlights, okay? Because hopefully I'll come back to these presentations. There's just so much there. So really exciting video. My mentality's kind of shifted, man, from last week. I'm very excited now. I feel we actually may have a chance of dissemination. And could it be around the James Webb Space Telescope? Man, I have been so pumped for this JWST, okay? For 7 years, I have been excited about the James Webb Space Telescope. I was so excited, I actually kind of quit, okay? I basically was like, I can't take it anymore because they kept delaying it. Could the James Webb Space Telescope, could this actually be a driver for this dissemination process? As John Ramirez calls it, it's not a disclosure. This is a scheduled dissemination of information. He mentions hybridization, hybrids. Man, okay, just a crazy video. Please like and subscribe if you do like this content. Thanks as always to my patrons, man, on Patreon. If you want to support the channel, join the team, please consider joining Patreon at patreon.com/Chris Slater. You can sign up for as little as $1 a month. Get access to the private Discord that we are now building up. So join the team. I think there is huge movement right now going on. So let's get to the video.
Everyone in the government seems to be tripping over themselves trying to join the conversation, so to speak. Everyone wants to say, yeah, we've also collected data, and here's our data. But I really don't know. It feels like something is happening, but I don't know what that something is. And the fact that the CIA allowed me to say what I did, I was really surprised. So, and I got more to say. There's a few slides I'm going to expand on for a future presentation. I'm trying my darnest to try to get redacted, and I haven't succeeded. So there's a few slides there about the McMinnville UFO and the reality of, I would say, hybridization that I thought would get redacted.
Hybridization. So he mentions this word and he goes on to say this is what Lou hasn't been able to say, is this hybridization. He shows it at the end of his presentation, is basically asked the question, are we reptilian hybrids? So combined DNA. So just mind-blowing stuff. But from my own perspective is listening to this guy talk. I haven't done any deep dive or anything into his background, but it sounds like he sounds legit. From my experience, I've only been in the CIA once. I went there to do basically a tour of the CIA, and it was awesome, actually, very cool. They have this top secret. The highlight for us of the CIA visit was the top secret lunchroom. Right, so it's this lunchroom, super top secret, has windows. Okay, so that was kind of mind blowing for us. But I can attest to there's two branches, two separate faces of the CIA, if you will. There's your analyst face, who I interacted with, and then the operations face, which I think is what we consider the negative connotations when we think of CIA. So I did talk trash to the CIA. What did the CIA do for us last week? It turns out I learned from John Ramirez here that the CIA did give the mapping software initially to Google. So we can thank a lot of our mapping software. So the CIA has done at least one positive thing for us, probably many others actually, okay? John Ramirez, he reminds me of the analysts. So I met a few analysts. I was focused on air systems. So I talked to those analysts that were working in the CIA on adversary air systems. And so John Ramirez, to me, he sounds legit. All the words he uses, the way he speaks, his professionalism, his PowerPoint presentation is amazing. So I just get the impression that he is legit. He's been doing this he did do this for many years, supposedly from 1984 to 2009 is when he retired. So my initial impression on this guy, John Ramirez, is, man, he seems legit. And I'm very excited to have him out here talking. So thank you, John, for speaking, man. Thank you so much for making this presentation, bringing light to this subject. If you ever want to be on my show, please just write me an email. It's in the About page. So watch this next. This is right at the beginning of this 2.5 hour interview. It's totally worth watching, though, all the way through. I loved it. If you're interested in this, please, highly recommend you watch this. So here we go. Here's a teaser.
But it didn't, and that's the word that Louis Elizondo can't say, that everyone in the Pentagon is expecting him to say someday, is that we're all hybrids.
When you say that Lou can't say that, is that actually
it's a schedule.
Right. Okay.
It's a schedule. I think the biggest takeaway for folks to understand is that things are happening on it's not a disclosure, it's a scheduled dissemination. And so certain things have to be set up before other things can be revealed. I think the kicker would be this James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh, yeah?
I think it's going to look at something and it's going to be so phenomenal that the government will have no choice but to say, oh, look at that, and we need to go look at it, even though they know what it is.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that it could be the case that they're setting up this telescope with the prior knowledge that they're going to reveal something.
They need to look at someplace, yeah, in space.
James Webb Space Telescope. Yes. So I have not thought about the James Webb Space Telescope in at least a year. And really, I was just disheartened because I was overly excited. It was like a kid on Christmas. I know it's so nerdy, right? It's so nerdy. But that's what excites me, man. This is what excites me, because the James Webb Space Telescope is going to change the game. I just never thought it was coming. I honestly just never thought it was coming. So I kind of just discounted it. But check out this thing, man. This thing is unbelievable.
Many obstacles along the way, but we are talking about an incredibly powerful telescope, right? The James Webb Space Telescope is exactly that. It is 100 times more powerful than the Hubble telescope. Just look at the comparison of the sizes of their primary mirrors.
Look at those sides. Hubble telescope is going to be jealous. 100 times more sensitive. And it looks in a different spectrum, the infrared spectrum, as they'll show shortly. And if you're not aware, the Hubble telescope has pushed our science, pushed astronomy to where it is today, okay, where we're still confused on what's going on. But it has allowed us to ask so many more questions about the universe. It's just mind-blowing. For 30 years, right, Hubble telescope, man, huge push forward for humanity. And so they're springboarding on the Hubble telescope. So this is Hubble telescope 2.0. That's what James Webb Space Telescope is. It is the next Hubble telescope, and it looks in the infrared spectrum, which is just even that much cooler.
And yet, James Webb's mirror is 113 kilograms, 249 pounds lighter. The telescope works in the infrared spectrum. The infrared radiation can penetrate the dust cloud and allow us to see the stars forming within. Additionally, Einstein's theory of relativity states that the space between objects in our universe expands, and so does light. As the light from the first stars and galaxies travels in our direction, its waves lengthen and the light becomes infrared, also known as red shift. Every time you look up at the night sky, just know that there are many stars and galaxies, the light of which stretched and became invisible or too faint for you to see.
This is the red shift that I mentioned in a podcast I went on Frank podcast. So this red shift, really, we call it the red shift because when you expand light, okay, the problem is it goes next into the IR realm. Like, remember the nanometers of infrared. So what happens is we can never see that information from far away. That's why we can't see to the actual point of the Big Bang because of this red shift where essentially the information has been lost to us. I've heard of it like could be an information event horizon, or at some point there will be. Okay, but with the infrared now, we can see further into those spectrums, so we'll be able to see closer into the Big Bang. If you will, we can also see through dust. So we can't see into the center of our own galaxy, the Milky Way, because of our dust that occludes us, this dust. And so this IR will actually be able to see, this IR camera will be able to see better through the dust. So we're going to see a ton of stuff. And there is a very high likelihood that we're going to see new things. Okay, I can pretty much guarantee we are going to learn something new about the universe. So it was very interesting for me to hear John Ramirez bring this up about the James Webb Space Telescope and the timing. I couldn't believe it. So I looked. Okay, when is the Space Telescope going to launch? It is launching next month. I mean, I'm just blown away by this. I never figured it could ever happen, right? But here it is, the James Webb Space Telescope. And it just went down another day, 35 days. This thing will actually be going into orbit. And I just can't believe it, man. 35 days. And if that thing actually launches, Ariane 5 is very dependable from what I understand. That's this launch vehicle going up in. There's a good chance that this thing will actually finally freaking launch. I'm so excited. Let's just continue this so you can see why this space telescope is going to change so many games.
How is the James Webb Space Telescope supposed to detect that light? It will be assisted by a huge mirror, which will increase the amount of collected light. The more light, the more detailed the image. The mirror is made with 18 hexagonal segments, each one 1.32 meters, 4.3 feet in diameter. This shape will enable the crew to fold the mirror on Earth and unfold it in space. Then, the focus of the mirror will be calibrated by shifting the various segments with an accuracy of 1 to 10,000, 1/10,000th of the thickness of a human hair. The light is collected onto the secondary mirror. Then it is reflected and sent to the scientific tools. After it is filtered, it is then focused on the hypersensitive infrared detectors, at which point the photons are converted into electrical voltage. The issue with mirroring is that unless this tool is cooled to 6.7 Kelvin or negative 266.5 Celsius,
6.7 Kelvin. So the sensor on this thing, the primary sensor, has to be cooled to 6 degrees above absolute zero. That is just, that's just ridiculous, man. I love the engineers, just so ambitious, this project. So this thing is the size of a tennis court, right? And it's going to protect this sensor to keep it at 6 degrees Kelvin. I mean, just unbelievable.
The size of this shield is 21 meters long and 14 meters across. The shield is made up of 5 layers, with space in between each layer of material so they can cool efficiently. Each layer is made from a special film that can withstand very high temperatures. This material is called Kapton. In addition, each layer is coated in aluminum, and the first 2 have an additional coat of doped silicone in order to be able to withstand even higher temperatures. For the sun shield to be able to hide the telescope from the sun, the moon, and Earth simultaneously, the JWST has to be 1.5 million kilometers away from Earth. As a reference, the Hubble Space Telescope was only 547 kilometers.
So it's going to be 1 million miles away, almost 3 times the distance of the moon away. And that's to be on the other side, always in the shadow of the Earth from the sun, in the Lagrange 2 point, which is just so cool to me.
147 kilometers. The James Webb Space Telescope will travel to a special location known as Lagrange Point 2. It is one of the 5 places in the solar system where gravitational forces allow the objects to remain in a fixed position relative to Earth.
So it'll always be in the shadow of Earth from the sun. So it'll always be in the shade, right? And then it has this folding mirror. It has this crazy tennis court sized sunshade, right? 5 layers, it's protective, made of aluminum coating to cool that sensor. So I mean, this thing's amazing. It's on a very powerful rocket to get it out to 1 million miles from Earth, 3 times the distance of the moon. Amazing, amazing system. I'm so happy to see that it came out. Okay, I'd been just kind of avoiding it because I was just, every time I hear about it, I'm just disappointed because they're going to delay it again. So looks like they might not be delayed, and this could be, I don't know, crazy idea. This could be impetus for why we're seeing this dissemination effort, right? They just couldn't delay this anymore. It's going to come up, and they know this is going to find something. We're going to find something cool from this satellite, man. I'm so pumped for that thing. Can't believe it's coming out. All right. And who's going to be controlling it, right? Let's look at Bill Nelson, man. This is the guy who's going to be running it. This is in, again, this National Cathedral briefing is just amazing. I recommend watching the whole thing. I mean, it's get popcorn and watch this thing all the way through. Man, this is a ridiculous presentation. Thank you so much, everybody who made it happen. Okay, but here's Bill Nelson. Watch this statement.
Senator Nelson, NASA just announced a new project to work with the scientific community to assess, are we alone in the universe? What do you hope to accomplish?
Well, I've asked our science mission director to propose a series of scientific goals as we look out for life in this universe. First of all, we're looking for life right now. That's why we have a probe on Mars. It's a big rover. It's as big as a Range Rover. It's got an arm, and it goes out and it drills holes and it puts it into a titanium tube. And we're sending a mission that is going to go there and pick up those tubes filled with cores out of the Martian surface on that lake bed and near where it is obvious that a stream came down into that lake bed at one point. And we're looking for signs of life there. We're looking for signs of life as we have these telescopes, the James Webb telescope going up in December. It's going to be positioned 1 million miles from Earth. And it's going to look away from the sun, and it'll pick a keyhole, and it'll look through it, and it'll look back into capturing light from 13.25 billion years ago. That's almost to the time, 250 million years after the Big Bang. And we're going to see what we discover as it picks another keyhole and looks in there and trying to see planets in our galaxy, but maybe other galaxies that have a sun, and suddenly there's a dark spot moving across that sun, which would indicate a planet. And then we're going to try to get the chemical composition. So, do I think there's life out there? Yes. I cannot limit this universe to be just here.
Wow, look at that. I mean, how the tone has changed. You know, Bill Nelson, he was a senator, he's an astronaut, and he is in charge of this program, right? The James Webb Space Telescope, that information. And he's going to pass the information to this woman, Avril Haines. She's the new director of the Defense National Intelligence Arm. I mean, all 16 agencies. She's a prior physicist. I'm very happy with the leadership we have right here. You know, Bill Nelson talking to Avril. So let's see what she says about it.
Assessment in June on unidentified aerial phenomena is the new term of art. To summarize that report, you studied 144 reports from U.S. government sources. 80 had multiple sensors that had made the identifications. In 18 of these instances, observers, I'm quoting, reported unusual UAP flight characteristics. You sorted these into 5 different bins. The last call just other. I want to ask you to share with the audience your takeaway after the completion of that report and what your own view is as you look at the evidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is that we don't understand everything that we're seeing, and that's probably not surprising to anybody in many respects. But it was a report that really, Congress asked us to produce a report that assessed what we saw as the threat, essentially, from unidentified aerial phenomena, and what our sort of best understanding was of the different reports that we had identified. And it stretched over from, I think, 2004 through to 2021. the different reports that you indicated, 144 of them. And we had different categories, as you said. So one of them was airborne clutter, another was natural phenomenon, another was foreign adversaries, a fourth one was related to sort of US government or industry developmental programs, and then the fifth one was other. And that basically indicated that we were pretty sure we weren't going to be able to characterize every single one of these reports in the various categories that we'd identified, because frankly, we were not able to understand everything about it. And a large portion of that is based on the fact that we don't have a consistent way of reporting this information. We need to integrate, frankly, a lot of data that we get. We need to get better at collecting information that's useful to us from different sensors that are available to us, and we have to deepen our analysis in these areas. And that's something that, frankly, probably also doesn't surprise you, in the sense that that's how we typically approach our intelligence work. And the main issues that Congress and others have been concerned about are basically safety of flight concerns and counterintelligence issues. But of course, there's always the question of, is there something else that we simply do not understand that might come extraterrestrially?
So you probably heard that statement or seen it maybe on other podcasts, et cetera, where she says extraterrestrially. I'm more excited about the first part of her statement, where she says, we don't understand what we're seeing. So that shows me that they have actual much better evidence than we've seen. I mean, that's the hope, right? We've hoped this. They've certainly hinted that they have much better evidence, but that they don't understand. And I mean, she hasn't ruled it out. It's definitely in the other, and she mentioned extraterrestrial, and they're talking about it in a national forum. This is the director of the National Intelligence Services, and she seems like the person we want. She seems like the person we want in that chair, and I think Bill Nelson's the guy we want in that other chair. The next clip I want to show really comes down to my own bias. Highlighting my own bias is what it showed me. Because I've never heard this next man speak, right? Think about that. I've never heard his voice before today. It just seems ridiculous. Check this out.
Well, the imperative for that is we will be at a crossroads. This Earth can support, let's say 10 billion people to a certain degree. We'd have to really work hard to figure out how to do that without continuing to degrade the planet. But this Earth can support 10 billion people. The solar system can support 1 trillion people. And we can continue to grow our civilization and grow our energy intensity. We need to dramatically reduce the cost of space. That infrastructure building will unlock future generations to do amazing things in space.
So you've talked about, your vision.
And it's not to leave the Earth, it's to save the Earth. This is one of the things that I see people consistently get wrong, at least from my point of view. This is the precious planet in our solar system. We need to be able to go to space so that we can preserve this planet. We have already lost so much forest, so much river, the nature that we've lost. We need to restore that. And we can do that and maintain the things we love about our modern lives. But we need to do that, we need to be getting our resources and doing our heavy industry off Earth, which that may not happen in my lifetime, but I can create the preconditions so that the next gen can do that.
Watching this really just highlighted my own bias, because I haven't listened to Jeff Bezos. I haven't listened to him give any speeches on this topic at all, really. And I kind of just wrote him off. He's just the Amazon guy. I'm sure like many people have written off Elon Musk. I'm a huge Elon Musk fan, follow all his ventures. I love what he's doing. But I've personally never even listened to Jeff Bezos. That's my own bias. I see it right here. We're all biased. But everything he said, I completely agree with all of his arguments that he makes here. The Earth is precious. It is finite and it is destroyable. We could easily lose it, as you're seeing now. And to mirror his comments, I've lived all around the Earth. And that's what I've seen. I love to dive. I love to go hiking in nature. And the one thing I've seen traveling around is the oceans, they're not there anymore. Okay, the Caribbean's been mauled. I used to travel in the Caribbean as a kid. And if you go now, it's just depressing. Because I go to the same areas where it was just vibrant coral, vibrant life everywhere under the sea. And now it's just dead rocks. and the progression is just going that way. So we do need to change something. We do need to change the paradigm. And I'm very happy to see these guys up here. I was really happy to see this conference. So Jeff Bezos, yeah, thanks to him as well. I agree with him. I agree. I don't think, whatever you can think you want of Jeff Bezos, but what he just said at this conference, what he's doing, I completely agree with. So support it. All right, final point here from my boy Avi. He just sums it up so well. Comes in, the guy, he's so awesome, inspiring for me. Avi Loeb, let's watch what he says. Just the key point I took away anyway.
The big picture, you get a sense of calmness. We are preoccupied with what's happening here, impressing each other. When you look at the big picture, it's not so relevant. So I have a twist on religion that I would like to introduce, if you allow me. Please. First of all, we are almost developing life in our laboratories. We are able almost to produce synthetic life in some laboratories on Earth. And so God in many religions was the creator of life, was the creator of the universe. If we, in the future, understand how to unify quantum mechanics and gravity, we might even be able to create a baby universe in the laboratory. So my point is simple. An advanced scientific civilization could be an approximation to what we called God. And the second point is, religions argue that humans were created in the image of God. Well, I would argue that we are now developing artificial intelligence systems that are in our image. So in the image of an advanced technological civilization, you will have AI astronauts. Now, if we can imagine doing that, someone else might have done it, because most of the stars formed billions of years before the sun. So my point is simple. Let's look at the sky and check if there is any equipment, AI astronauts, that were sent by other civilizations. And that's the goal of the Galileo project.
Awesome. Galileo project, James Webb Space Telescope, and Sky 360, which I hope to contribute to in the very near future. So there is a lot of activity going on, and this is just I guess open source, really. Galileo project. His thoughts, what he's saying basically is, could it be hybridization? Could we be an extension of some other race in the past that is actually spread out from the stars? Could it be possible? I think yes. I mean, obviously it could be possible. This hybridization, that's kind of what he is referencing, I think. There is, could we be seeing AI? You see that they're kind of thinking about it. Jeff Bezos seems like the most forward-thinking person actually that I listened to there. Surprisingly, I was surprised by that thought. I actually agree with Jeff Bezos the most. I think for sure we're going to have colonies, very, very large colonies off planet, off Earth, and Earth will be the precious planet. That'll be the homeworld that we keep safe, and hopefully better stewards of it. After last week's video, watching Bob Salas just give another amazing briefing on deaf ears, I was very happy to see this National Cathedral, where you can see the leaders of our country. So Avril Haines, leading Director of National Intelligence Services, Bill Nelson, Director of NASA. Those people are directly involved with getting this information from the James Webb Space Telescope. Avi Loeb also on the stage, opening up, I think, everybody's minds. I think people are starting to now think of other possibilities, other chances, and we'll start to actually maybe see some dissemination. Could it go back? Could John Ramirez, could he be right? Is this some crazy dissemination program, dissemination schedule, as he references it? Crazy time. So very good. There's a lot to break out from John Ramirez's video, so I'll do a reattack on that, on his interview, hopefully get him on the show one day. I'm very happy to see John out there making videos, contributing to the effort. Thank you so much. If you want to join, support the channel, please consider joining at patreon.com. But really just watching, thanks for watching to the end. This helps the channel greatly. Hit that like button if you did like this content. But thanks for being here. Thanks Thanks for watching with an open mind. Man, stuff is happening. It's exciting out there. See you guys next week. Take care. Peace.